Well, it's been a day of protests in Johannesburg. Soweto residents demonstrated in the CBD before handing over a memorandum of demands to the Joburg City Mayor Palatse. Residents are crying out for services including electricity and water. At the same time, Operation Dudula members marched to the Johannesburg Park station calling for the removal of illegal immigrants. Our reporters Pulele Chwiti-Jones and Heidi Jokas have been on the ground following those stories, and they join me now for an update. Hi to both of you. Heidi, let's start with you. You were focusing on this electricity crisis in Soweto. First of all, tell us who the organisers of this protest were.
It seems as though the organisers, Sally, this time around was Soweto Parliament. We saw a number of residents, protest leaders wearing branding of Soweto Parliament. Now everybody's asking who might be Soweto Parliament. We do know it's a setup or an organisation, if I can call them that, or a grouping that deal with issues specifically related to Soweto. And the biggest issue here is electricity, access to electricity and constant supply of electricity. This is why this group decided, together with hundreds of community members, community leaders and residents from all parts of Soweto, decided to march to the mayor of the city of Joburg, Palatse. They decided that she is the answer to their problem of electricity supply. There were a number of other issues on the list. For example, the mushrooming of informal settlements in and around Soweto. Crime is also another big issue that they want addressed, but the biggest one being the fact that they do not have electricity supply. Sally, we actually spoke to a few residents and community members that indicated that there are people that are actually dying because of the lack of constant electricity supply. Some areas have not had electricity for 5 years. A lot of them need medication to be in the fridge, and because this is not happening, they are unable to basically take their medication at the right temperature. There are also a lot of old people living in Soweto. They don't have electricity. A number of people are on oxygen. When there's constant load reduction, they are unable to have constant supply of oxygen. So there are a number of issues. Businesses are unable to operate. Crime is rife, especially when there is no electricity. So let's listen to what some of the community members said about how desperate they are for there to be a solution to the constant electricity crisis in Soweto.
There are 44 communities that are struggling with electricity. So now it shows that more communities are coming out because more communities are being affected by electricity. This is a display of disgruntlement for the community, that actually a lot of people are facing problems with regarding to electricity issues.
Loss in our case has been 15 months since last year till now. So they said we must pay. I'm a 500, then they'll come and install a box. Till today, you see. So that's the problem. We're having a challenge in all areas in our lady, so it's a yonke. Don't
have electricity. It's been 15 months. We have people who are sick, and the others who are living with their oxygens. And my neighbor, he has the mum here. He uses the injections, ne? So injections must be in their fridge. We don't have fridge. We don't have anything. No electricity, nothing, and the old man is sick.
He has been taking medication. Now electricity is gone for 15 months. Now he has developed cancer because of spoiled injections.
You know, we know that Soweto has a massive debt that it owes Eskom, and we know that in areas there's a culture of non-payment. But listening to those residents, a lot of them seem to have tried to pay to get their meters to be on board with Eskom, and they seem extremely frustrated. It's interesting, of course, because in a way it's Eskom who can solve their problem, not the mayor. So why did they appeal to the mayor of Johannesburg, and what has she said?
So, Sally, the reason why community members decided to go to the mayor's office is because they feel as though Eskom has not listened to their issues. They have provided no solution. What we do understand is that many community members and households within Soweto have been subjected to billings that they feel as though they haven't used. So they say they'll be billed over 1,000 rand, but there's only one person living in the house. They don't feel as though that is an accurate billing. They also feel as though the flat rates, or what they call a specific amount for specific households or specific areas, is not what it should be. So, for example, if somebody's living off a social grant or a pension, they don't have 500 rand a month to be paying or 300 rand a month to be paying. It's a huge issue for Eskom that has been at pains to try and solve and sort out the debt that Soweto has and owes Eskom. The mayor comes in here, Sally, because they feel as though the mayor can intervene in some way. What was interesting was that the mayor was up listening to the cries and the demands of the Soweto residents, together with the MMC of Community Safety, of Environment and Infrastructure, as well as the General Manager for Eskom. But it seems as though the only person that can actually solve this problem is Eskom. So the mayor is saying she will engage and she will listen to what they have to say. There's about 10 memorandums and 10 documents that have been handed over to the mayor. She has 14 days to respond according to the demands that have been given to Soweto residents to the mayor. So the mayor has about 14 days to engage, and it's going to be quite a lengthy process because the Soweto residents have been at pains to get somebody to listen, but Eskom finds itself in a difficult position because they just need people to pay. They have implemented a load reduction where residents don't have power for hours on end for most of the day, for specific days in the week. So huge problems there, but let's listen to what the mayor said about that.
For the memorandum, we're going to go through everything. Everything we're going to read through it. Make sure I think you've only something about foreign nationals. Maybe try to re-invite to Home Affairs. Again, as we read through, if there's anything missing, we will rope them in. The Dudula Fati, respect the Hubuisana, get Sapalinali leadership again. Yeah, Recopalir 14 days, about 14 days, again.
All right, so the mayor there is saying that they will report back to the leadership structure of the Soweto Parliament, which, as we heard earlier, contains at least sort of 44 different communities in Soweto. So the point we were making earlier is that Eskom is actually the supplier, and customers in Soweto are supposed to pay Eskom directly. It doesn't go through City Power. Has Eskom spoken to you?
Yes, Sally, Eskom has responded to indicate that they will be engaging with the mayor together with other MMCs and NECs to figure out what they can do to assist and whether or not there can be a solution. But before we end this, I think it's important to highlight the fact that the late former mayor, Mpho Moerane, did put out an indication that the city was in the process of perhaps taking over Soweto and putting it under the city of Joburg. Therefore, the City Power would be in control of electricity supply to Soweto. If this did happen, and if it does happen in future, this would be a huge move, because this would mean that the city would take over all electricity issues. But what happens to all that debt, and does this current administration for the city of Joburg feel the same way? I think it's important for us to pose this question to the mayor of the city of Joburg, if they feel as though it would be a wise move to take over this Soweto and take control of the electricity problem. It's a huge crisis, and that debt is massive. We do know that they're trying to have a debt rehabilitation program to get whoever can pay off their debt to do so. But Sally, we know that the cost of living is rising. We know people cannot afford this. But at the end of the day, people need to pay for the service that they get, which is electricity most of the time. But that's not the case in Soweto. So how do they solve this problem?
All right, so 14 days. Let's see what the mayor comes up with. Let's bring in now our colleague Pulele Chweti-Jones. Now, Pule, you were at Joburg Park Station at the same time as this Soweto Parliament March was taking place. Operation Dudula, which of course is well known for saying we need to sort out illegal foreigners in this country, was at Park Station, and it seems they were conducting inspections. What exactly was Operation Dudula doing at Park Station today? On what authority? And what did the Passenger Rail Agency have to say about it?
Definitely, Sally, they marched to the Johannesburg Park Station demanding that informal traders, who are actually most of them foreign nationals, to actually show them documentation, if they're in the country legally, and if they have the correct permission to be trading formally. But at the very same time, they had said to us that they did request for permission from the authorities to actually embark on this march. But what we also understand now is that they were accusing PRASA of excluding South Africans from formally trading at the Park Station. And their march actually caused disruptions today at the Johannesburg Park Station, where we saw some businesses closing down for just about 3 hours or so. But at the very same time, what we do understand is that PRASA has come out to say that this is not true, denying the allegations that they're excluding South Africans. They're of the view that their database system accommodates South Africans. They do engage with various stakeholders, such as the Informal Trading Association, which is also responsible for giving them a list of some of the South African citizens who would like to apply and formally trade at the park stations. And they are saying that they have never met Dudula before in terms of having a meeting as to pave a way forward as to how they can resolve this issue. Perhaps maybe you can listen to PRASA and try to understand what they had to say about the allegations that have been brought up by Operation Dudula that they're excluding South Africans from trading at the Johannesburg Park Station.
With the claim made by Operation Dudula, it is not true that South Africans are left behind. We work very closely with associations that represent informal traders of the various divisions, and they are the ones who supply us with South Africans, a database of South Africans that we can allow to trade in our spaces. So we do work with informal trading associations. They give us the database, and as far as we know is that a lot of them are South Africans. However, we also have picked up a trend where sometimes people that have been given spaces to operate, they would then lease them out to foreign nationals that are not documented, and that's something that we are working very hard to clamp down. And the policy on informal trading that has just been approved is going to deal with some of these issues to tighten up our regulations around trading in our spaces. And so that's what we are hoping that the policy will achieve in tightening these controls.
So it's interesting, Operation Dudula probably could have found that out before going on a march. They could have found out that actually it's local traders who have these licenses and sometimes they lease them out to foreigners. Operation Dudula, we know, is also in support of the Soweto Parliament march today, calling for action over electricity problems in Soweto. And it's very much positioning itself as a voice of the people, certainly here in Johannesburg. What is next for Operation Dudula?
Definitely. So their next plan of action now is to continue with the march until Friday. There was a 2.5-hour meeting that took place today at the headquarters of PRASA. As well as we understand, there were various stakeholders, including the Informal Traders Association, Operation Dudula, and they've also claimed that PRASA officials were there as well. But at the very same time, they've also denied the allegations that South Africans who are formerly trading at Park Station are leasing away their space to foreign nationals. They're saying that this is a misleading statement from PRASA. But officially, PRASA has said that they're witnessing an ongoing trend of area spaces for formerly trading being leased out to foreign nationals. Operation Dudula believes that by backing down, they will be giving PRASA the levy to actually continue not listening to their demands, and therefore it seems as though they will be shutting down the Johannesburg Park Station tomorrow, again disrupting business operations that are taking place there. But perhaps maybe we can just lend an ear to what one of the officials from Operation Dudula had to say regarding the next plan of action.
We decided that in the next 7 days, until we meet the decision makers of PRASA, because they are the main stakeholders here in the park station, then the non-South Africans must not trade. Only our own people will be allowed to sell here, because we are not fighting our own people. We're not fighting the non-South Africans, but we just want the law to take its course. So for the next 7 days, we do not want any non-South African that will be trading here, because informal trading is just for South Africans. Mr. Mzwaledi said it, and especially here in Joburg, CBD, that's where it's supposed to be actually implemented.
Yeah, well, PRASA has acknowledged some loopholes, so let's hope they deal with them in the next few days, because as you mentioned, Pule, it is very disruptive around Park Station, which is a huge transport hub. Pule Lechwiti Jones and Hadi Jokas, thank you very much for those important updates.